welcome to our channel. I'm Jennifer and this is Kate, and today we have our favorite art-related books with stories in them about art and artists that the whole family can enjoy.
These books really make art come alive, and they would be great read-alouds or great independent reads, and they pair really well with the study of the famous artists.
We also have several resources to share with you today, such as where you can find beautiful art prints.
And if you're looking for an art program for homeschool, we did a video on that recently, which we'll have linked below.
So let's go ahead and get this art adventure started.
So our first book is this one from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. This book follows two kids, Claudia and Jamie. They run away from home and they go to live in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And while they're there, they encounter a statue that may or may not have been created by Michelangelo. So this one is a fun art mystery.
So was it the work of Michelangelo or was it not? And don't you ever feel like you want to run away from home? They did not feel appreciated at home, and so they decided to run away, which I think we can all identify with sometimes. But anyway, this is such a fun story, perfect for tweens. I did not read it until I was an adult. I don't know how I missed this one, but if you haven't read it, don't miss it.
Alright, so our second book is The Journeyman by Elizabeth Yates. This follows Jared Austin. He is an apprentice to a traveling painter in New England during the early 1800s, and so it follows all of their adventures while also tackling some challenges.
So this book is so beautifully written. It's about faith and courage and overcoming difficulties and keeping promises. So it makes a really great family read aloud. It also will bring up some issues that are great to discuss with older kids, your teenagers. So I would definitely put this on your to be read pile. And I will say that it does have a happy ending. So when you're reading it, don't feel doomed because everything turns out all right in the end.
Our third book is Want The Pereja. It tells the story of the famous Spanish artist Velázquez and his slave Juan de Pereja, who helped him work. So even though Juan was born a slave, he learned a lot about art from watching Velázquez and preparing the paints and the canvases, and so he eventually went on to become a famous painter himself.
So this is such a neat story. Juan did not let being born a slave stop him from pursuing his dream. And the characters in the book are all real, and you can look them up and look at their paintings while you're reading the book, which I think is really cool. The author, Elizabeth Borton de Trevino, does a wonderful job of capturing this time period. But life in the 1600s could be harsh, so you definitely want to preview this before you would just jump in and start reading it aloud to your younger kids.
And this book also won the Newbery Medal in 1966, so we are not the only people who think this book is good. So our fourth book is definitely an interesting book. It's a little bit out of the box, and that's Lady with an Alien, an encounter with Leonardo da Vinci. So this is a time travel book that will definitely appeal to the teens.
So this interesting story is about Marco, who lives in the 24th century, but he is able to travel back in time, though I am not going to tell you how or why. But when he gets to the 1490s, he meets Leonardo da Vinci, and that's where the story becomes very interesting.
So he tells Leonardo that he is from the future, but he starts to run into the struggle of how much should he actually tell him. Should he go into the details on which one of Leonardo's experiments will work and which ones will flop? And so it brings up an interesting question about how much would you tell him?
You can talk about that with your kids. Would you tell Leonardo, yeah, keep working on the airplane, but ditch the wings? Or what would you tell him? What would you feel comfortable doing? What would you feel is right? So that's one aspect of the book that was really interesting. But another crazy thing about this book is that Leonardo assumes that in the 24th century, way in the future, that all diseases have been cured. There's no cancer. Scientists and doctors have it all figured out. But Marco assures him that no, new viruses and new diseases keep emerging, and that keeps everyone on their toes, and some people are afraid to go out of their houses, and it is just crazy. Sound familiar, right? So we read this book just a few months before the pandemic hit, and that made the author, Mike Resnick, seem like a fortune teller. Like, wow, we were just reading about this situation in this book, and now we're living it.
So it's an interesting book, but it's also very fun, and you'll definitely learn a lot about Leonardo da Vinci while you read it. So book number 5 is for the teens and the adults, and that is the story of the Monuments Men from World War II. So these were art experts who joined the army specifically to track down the stolen paintings and return them to their owners.
So this book is like a giant treasure hunt. It's a fascinating true story, and as it turns out, there are a lot of missing artworks that have never been recovered. So we kind of got lost down a rabbit hole with this book, wanting to find out what treasures are still missing, because they do pop up from time to time. So we found a website that will show you what art treasures are still out there, and we'll link that down below. But just be on the watch for them next time you go to your favorite thrift store or yard sale, because you never know, they do surface from time to time.
So book number 6 is Under the Egg. We listened to this one on audiobook, so we don't have the physical copy, but we'll put a picture up on screen. And this one is an art mystery about the Renaissance and about the artist Raphael that is set in modern times. Theodora Tenpenny is our main character, and her grandfather told her about a treasure he had, and that treasure would bring her family financial security.
Of course, he accidentally dies before he can give her all the details, and we just hate it when that happens. So that treasure hunt is on for Theodora, and along the way she meets a lot of interesting characters and has several adventures. You will learn a lot about the Renaissance in this book, about different art techniques, painting and restoring artwork, and even the world of art auctions.
So our 7th book is for, again, the teens and adults, and that is Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling. So this is an in-depth look behind the scenes at the painting of the Sistine Chapel.
This book is really fascinating. Michelangelo's family was really quirky, so you might think your family is a bit odd or dysfunctional, but no, your family is fine compared to his. So it was amazing to me that he was able to work and produce so many masterpieces while he had all this craziness going on behind the scenes. So it's a little bit long, which is why we say teens and adults, but if you're a Michelangelo fan, this is definitely worth your time to read.
So if you're looking to get some art prints to go along and look at while you're reading about the famous artists, we can recommend these from the Simply Charlotte Mason website. So they are the picture study portfolios. They have different prints of the artist's famous works, and they have about 20 on their website for a very reasonable cost.
So we like this a lot. When we read Want The Pereja, we use this one about Velázquez. So I'll show you what's inside. You get a book, which is a biography about the artist, and it has different questions to help you notice things in his paintings. And then you get different prints that show his work of art, and they're just beautiful. A lot of different kinds. So Simply Charlotte Mason website, we'll link it below. It's a great place to get very nice art prints for your art studies.
Another place you can go for art prints is the Catholic Heritage Curricula website. They have several different bundles of prints for a really good price, such as this one.
This is their ABC art collection. It's meant for elementary school kids. So they have a beautiful painting, a print for every letter of the alphabet. For instance, this P is for parrots, the letter P. And then the book walks you through each of the paintings. It gives a short biography of each famous artist, as well as several questions that you can ask your kids to help them understand what they're seeing in the painting. So this is Noah's Ark. Just a tremendous value here for a very reasonable cost. And finally, if you haven't seen this book, Signs and Symbols in Christian Art, it's a great resource. Basically, it's a reference book. It has over 350 paintings in it. They're in black and white, but that's all right because that's fine for what you're using this for. The book walks you through what all the different objects in the painting are telling you. For instance, if in a painting you see someone holding a palm branch, well, that is the sign of martyrdom. They're just not randomly holding a palm branch for no reason. That person probably did not come to a happy end.
And if you see violets, for instance, that symbolizes humility, whereas a shell symbolizes a pilgrimage. So it's just a great book to help you decode what you're seeing in this type of artwork.
So that wraps up our art adventure for today. We hope you enjoyed coming along with us.
If you have any recommendations for art books or for art prints, let us know down in the comments. We love to hear from you.
So we love art here at our house, and we hope you will enjoy some of our recommendations, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.